JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a manga and anime series that even with context is one of the weirdest things you will ever see in your life. And I love it. And apparently I'm not alone, as Roblox weebs decided to make an entire game based off it, called Your Bizarre Adventure. A game that makes me smile and also want to pull my hair out at the same time. In the game there are multiple stands with amazing strong abilities and fighting styles like boxing and sword fighting. Combine them together and you get one of the most broken looking fighting mechanics in a Roblox game. But what if we didn't have any of those things? What if the only tool we had, the only stand we possessed, was one of the worst in the game? And we had to go through the entire Your Bizarre Adventure story mode. Let me introduce you to Mr. President. Mr. President is a stand from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Golden Wind. Or Ventario if, you're a nerd. Its main ability is just to create a room for our protagonist to hang out in. But the Your Bizarre Adventure team had a couple of drinks one night and added it as a playable stand to the game. So, let me tell you what this bad boy can do. Kidnap. This is Mr. President's bread and butter. Allows you to kidnap any player and put them inside the room. AKA one of the greatest trolling tools in the game. Shake. Adds insult to injury and damages anyone inside the key, except yourself of course. This is Mr. President's most powerful move. Enter key. Pretty self-explanatory. You can enter the key. A fantastic tool if you want to escape fights. And believe me, if you're using this stand, this move's going to become your best friend real quick. Empty room. Again, pretty self-explanatory. You empty everyone including yourself out of the room. Restock supplies. Allows you to heal anyone inside the room. Basically, if you got kidnapped by a Mr. President and this move happens, you got the good ending. Turtle form and shell form. They're similar moves. They allow you to turn to a turtle and take less damage from attacks, but go a bit slower, with shell form doing even more defense. Now a newcomer would look at all these abilities and think, hey, this stand's pretty neat. But the second they switch stands, their happiness goes up and they start making friends. But alright, let's get into the story of Part 5. Your Bizarre Adventure. There's literally no difference. This is literally just Part 5, so spoilers for Part 5. It starts with the guy with the meme theme telling us to beat up some security guards, and like any smart person, we agree. And already, Mr. President is showing a couple of problems here. First off, almost every stand has a stand barrage in this game. You know though. That. Almost every stand has that. Well, Mr. President's in the no barrage club. He's one of the only stands who doesn't have a stand barrage. And this is a bad thing because the stand barrage is a pretty useful tool. It helps rack up damage in the beginning or end of the fights, or whenever you just need to, rack up damage. But that problem is ant-sized compared to this planet-sized one. We can't kidnap any of the enemies. Now this makes sense. If you were able to kidnap the enemies in this game, then you could basically steal someone's boss fight. But this does kind of suck because that's one of our most powerful tools. Don't think it can get any worse? Too late. We can't go into the room mid-fight and heal. See, Your Bizarre Adventure has this thing where if you start a boss fight and run away from the area, the boss resets from its original spawn point. You see the problem here. Because going into the room is leaving the area, it resets the fight. So unless we're using it to escape death, it's useless. And as for the turtle moves, yeah, I just didn't like using them. So that really just leaves us with 3 attack moves. Our basic punches, our stand barrageless finisher, and kidnap. I had a heavy punch, but I forgot it was in the game. So because we're not using the turtle moves, our main defenses will be blocking, running away, and dashing out of the way. But I could already tell this was going to be a drag. After beating up the guards, Giorno tells us to give a suitcase to some guy from the last part. But who cares about him? This isn't part 4 anymore. Once we do that, we head over to Giorno again, who whines about some dude with a shovel. And we're not a big fan of that, so we end his life. But doing this has angered a certain gang member, Bruno Bucciarati. This is our first fight against another stand user, and boy is it rough. But we managed to come out on top. Oh, and trust me, life as a Mr. President only main gets worse from here. Bucciarati tells us to forget that we ever fought because we're friends now. You give Giorno a lighter, and as everyone knows, owning a lighter automatically makes you a member of a gang. Giorno asks if we want to join, and how could we say no to that anime Roblox face? Then it's time to meet the other gang members. What the hell are you wearing? They should have ended with the third movie, Exploiter's favorite stand user, and Cry Myself to Sleep. Next, Bucciarati tells us, by the way, it's mission time, so we head over to Trish to show her we ain't broke. After showing her our fat stacks, we head over to Fugo, who's gone completely bonkers. So naturally, we beat him up. This fight was tougher than the Bucciarati one. That poison was not helping, but we managed to succeed yet again. However, this would only be the calm before the storm. Trish tells us that the gang is in trouble, so we head to the train station to fight SpongeBob's house. This is where the game stops sugarcoating it. Pesci's Beach Boy stand may not be a fan favorite, but its moves can pack a punch. I would find ways to keep the pressure on him, but he would just Uno reverse card it right back onto me. And it didn't help that one of his moves literally breaks guard. My strategy was to get a few hits in and run around the rest of his attacks. And thankfully, Beach Boy's part of that no stand barrage gang, so we didn't have to worry about that. After what felt like 5 years, we finally beat him. It was time to go pay a visit to Ice Cube. Literally, that's what he's called in this game. But what SK didn't know in this footage is that this would be the hardest fight in this run. See that ice move? Yeah, it's big, it's unblockable, and it comes out of nowhere. And yeah, I learned eventually when it might come out, but that doesn't help because, would you look at that? An ice move that slows you down. I hope that doesn't interfere with me dodging out of the way. Oh god. Even when I tried my Pesci strategy on him, he would just slow me down and hit me with the BS. Looking back, I could have turtled my way through that big ice attack, but again, predicting when it's gonna happen isn't always 100%. But eventually, I got my dodging down. I was able to dodge the big ice attack, and finally, thankfully, it was what the fudge? Okay, there we go. Finally, it was over. By the way, in case you're wondering why the congratulations, the winner is you thing didn't pop up at the bottom of the screen, yeah, I was helping someone else out fight this boss, and I got the kill for it, and it was before I was supposed to. Yeah. Oh, by the way, that was a huge thing in this challenge. I didn't want any help fighting these bosses. I wanted to do them on my own. But at this point, I was tired. I was angry, and I wanted this to be over. But there stood one more challenge in my way. Diavolo. If you don't know, I'm about to tell you. Diavolo has the stand King Crimson. Its ability is to erase time.
But what does that mean?
In this game, pretty much it means Diavolo can show up behind you anytime he wants. So, there ain't nowhere to run. Another problem that we ran into was Epitaph. If Diavolo's red, you can't hit him. If you do hit him, he's gonna channel his evil Hado and hit you with a... He also likes to use a chop move, which will make us bleed out, which will make us lose health over time. So yeah, pretty tough boss, but we had to do it. We had to win. This was for all the marbles. The big one. It all came down to this. Can we do it? Can we beat Diavolo and his stand King Crimson? It took 2 tries. It's over. We've finally done it. We have beaten Your Bizarre Adventure Story Mode with only Mr. President. This road was brutal, and it didn't help that most of our moves were useless. But at the end of the day, we won with the worst stand in Your Bizarre Adventure. I don't care what you say about Act 1 Tusk. We end the story with Giorno giving us a Requiem arrow. A Requiem arrow that we can't even use with this stand. Son of a bitch.